Good evening. I call the special meeting of the Menifee City Council to order. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Denver. Here. Councilmember Leesmeyer. Here. Councilmember Sobek.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem August. And Mayor Mann.
Here. Do we have any public commenters on the closed session agenda item?
We do not have any requests to speak.
Very well. We are recessed into closed session. Okay, it's 7:15. I am going to reconvene the regular council meeting of the City of Menifee from closed session. And as we reconvene from closed session, we also open this meeting in honor of Mr. Bill Zeidlich, a former Menifee resident who moved to Colorado and who was instrumental years ago as part of original incorporation effort and several committees, and was a regular here at the Menifee City Hall, speaking his mind on various topics. And so we open the meeting in his honor tonight. Mr. Melching, do we have a report out from the, Mr. Melching is not here. I can report out that we do not have any report from this particular closed session earlier. And Madam Clerk, would you go ahead and please call the roll? And we will note that Mr. August will be here shortly.
Councilmember Denver.
Here.
Councilmember Leesmeyer.
Here.
Councilmember Sobek.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem August is walking in.
He's here.
And Mayor Mann.
Here. And
5 present.
5 present. Thank you very much. And with that business being done, we are on to words of inspiration tonight. Pastor Jim Edwards from Revival Christian Fellowship.
Lord, we thank you for your presence here tonight. And we invite you, Lord, to be the leader and guide of our time together. God, we thank you for the many blessings we have. We thank you for our civic leaders and staff. We thank you for the law enforcement of our city. We thank you that they will go out and help to keep us safe, Lord, help to protect and have a form of civility in our city. Bless them, bless their families, Lord, all the council. We thank you for those people of our city, Lord. We thank you for the opportunity of growth. Lord, as many of us live here, we can obviously see the wonderful growth that's happening, and not only with construction and building, but with the population. And so, Lord, we know that where much is given, much is required. And Lord, tonight we pray that as we look to the things and needs of the people and the needs of the city, that, Lord, you would give great wisdom. Give us wisdom, Lord, from above, that we would have understanding to deal with these things in a way that is good for the whole of the community. Lord, we need your wisdom for that. So we thank you for your provision in that, Lord. We would pray that, I would just pray personally that we would be mindful of each other in this community and city. God, may we be a people of righteousness and truth. Help us to consider each other and the needs and the wants and the requests. God, we pray that they wouldn't be strictly self-interest, but they would be considering those around them and their neighbors. So we thank you for your listening here tonight. We thank you for hearing our prayers. We thank you for how you answer our prayers.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Councilmember Leesmeyer, would you lead us in the pledge?
Sure. Please join me in saluting our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Sorry about the delay from closed session. We had a discussion of potential litigation, and as I said earlier, there was nothing to report out from that particular discussion tonight. On to agenda approval or modification. Madam Clerk, do we have any agenda modifications tonight?
There are no modifications.
Hearing none, that agenda is approved. We don't have any presentations tonight, do we, Mr. Johnson?
No, we do not, sir.
Very well. On to public comment. Ms. Manwaring, would you please call the first speaker?
Up first is Ann Pica, followed by David Sperry.
Good evening. Resolution number 16-496, requesting detachment proceedings from LAFCO that was approved on the February 3rd agenda. This action was spearheaded by Mayor Mann. This is the first step in moving forward to fire Valley-wide Recreation and Park District. This is not a move in the best interest of the taxpayers of Menifee. It is strictly a political move on the part of the mayor to keep the city manager under his control by giving him more power at the expense of the taxpayers. Mayor Mann refusing to show the staffing plan or how much it's going to cost the public is criminal, in my opinion. It's the same thing as stealing from the public when the city manager and council refuse to disclose public documents on the cost to the taxpayer. Thus, one can only conclude you're stealing our money. The city manager and council refused to release public documents on the cost to the public is documented on the CD by the speaker from Valley-wide on February 3rd meeting, who requested 20 public documents on detachment proceedings and was denied access to them. A year ago, the masses of Menifee voters stood before this city council and said they wanted to keep Valley-wide maintaining our city parks. And now the mayor and council go against the wishes of the people and refuse to give any reason for criticizing or justifying firing Valley-wide, who has done a magnificent job on the parks in Menifee. This is just another reason why you have to get rid of Mayor Mann. Mann is out to destroy the city, not build it. The mayor's slogan is moving Menifee forward. And if you allow this guy to stay in office, he will move our city forward, right over the cliff. Mayor Mann continues to deny access on the amount of taxpayer dollars being spent by the city manager for new equipment, new employees, new contracts, and maintaining the city parks, causing an erosion of the public's confidence in the decision-making process of this city. We, the people, do not want people in office who are using the taxpayer dollars as a stepping stone for higher political office. I urge all Menifee residents to petition LAFCO and request they deny the detachment request by the city of Menifee. Come 2016 election, the people of Menifee need to stop these secret actions by Mayor Mann and the council, two of which are up for re-election, and I urge you to vote them and the mayor out of office in 2016. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next is David Sperry, followed by Jillian Larson.
Good evening, Mayor Mann and members of the City Council and other staff members. I'm not here to complain tonight. Those of you who spoke up on my behalf, I'd like to thank you at this time for my previous issues I had earlier this month. Thank you. What I am here is I'm in here on behalf of the Romaland School District. I am a member of the board in Romaland for the school district. I serve as a clerk there. And I'm here to give an actual good report of what's going on in that district tonight. And the topic I'm assigned to speak about is our music program that we have in the Romaland School District. It's quite exceptional. Since we're a K-8 school district, our student body is somewhat limited. We have 4 elementary schools and 1 junior high school. Inside of that program, in the past 3 years since I've been on the board, we've been able to reenact the music program in those schools. And it is a very exceptional program to talk about. It's quite unusual to most other schools or school districts that you'll see. At this point, we have 2 full-time teachers that run that program, Mrs. Clark and Miss Silva, who have been doing an excellent job in their duties. We set aside in the past 2 years over $300,000 to keep this program running and to expand our children in the arts, that they have the choice to voluntarily take part of in extracurricular activities. In this day and age, and so many things are being taken away, or they have in the past, they are really starting to come back at this point. To give you an example of how great this program is that we have, right now in our junior high, we have 227 students involved in this program. I came up in the music program myself as a youth. For 11 years I was in it. I studied music. We never had those numbers. We had 40, 50 in our junior high program. We have 227. That's 20% of our student body in that brand new junior high we have. fantastic. I know my time's getting short. I'm going to try and go fast. The next thing is our third through fifth grade. We have a program for beginning music there, and they have the opportunity to take part in choir. Now, the significance of those numbers, if only 25% of those students stayed with it through their high school years, that high school band director will have over 200 students in their program. That is unheard of. You talk to any music program or director in high school, they would love to have over 200 students, and we're feeding that out of Chase Middle School. The teachers in there are doing a fantastic job. It's a program that we're going to continue to do. We're continuing to build our schools in all that we do. And I thank you for your time tonight, and I'm happy to give a good report to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Sperry. Appreciate it. Next speaker, please.
Jillian Larson, followed by Frank Brady.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and City staff. I am Jillian. I'm from Temecula, and we do a very large fundraising event every April. We're coming into our 6th year, and I've been here before, inviting a City of Menifee team to play in the Amazing Race kind of game that we play throughout Old Town Temecula. People are not required to run. I designed it. I was actually a contestant on Survivor. I designed it after I was booted off so that anybody could play this game and enjoy a little of an amazing race. We bring in money from all over the world because the reality stars who come as part of a draw are required to raise $500 in order to attend. We pay nobody, and every one of us is a volunteer. So I invite you guys to come and be part of it. It is a huge fundraiser. It is for Michelle's Place, a breast cancer resource center, who requires funding and fundraising in order to give their services to about 12,000 people a year who are suffering from breast cancer and other cancers. Now, Lake Elsinore has played every year, and they have won for the past 4 years. They have thrown out a challenge to every city to put in a team of 3 players. The 4th player is a reality star. Menifee, we want you guys on board. Paris is on board. Lake Elsinore, of course, is on board. Murrieta is on board. Temecula is on board. So we would love to see somebody, 3 people from Menifee, be part of this event and have some fun. It's 14 different challenges in Old Town. You go and have fun, play in the theater, the marketplace, the children's museum, and it's just like an Amazing Race kind of adventure. So we'd love to see somebody spearhead that. I have brought the program from last year. It's an extremely significant event, and we do raise money. We do raise awareness for this entire valley, and we have a lot of Menifee residents who are part of Reality Rally in many capacities. So I invite Menifee to please put in a team representing the city so that we can have every one of the cities represented. And you never know, maybe Menifee will take away the trophy this year, and Lake Elsinore is going to say, darn, I didn't think that was going to happen. So I'd love to see you there. My card is on here, and I can be contacted and tell you how to get on the game. So thank you so much. Love to see you guys.
This is Reality Rally.
It is, it's Reality Rally, yes.
What is the next date?
The date is April 9th. So thank you very much. I'm sorry, I got carried away inviting you. I couldn't tell you when. Thank you very much.
So Jillian,
good.
the fact that you're here and the fact that the next episode of Survivor starts next week, that we can surmise that you were not selected for Brains, Beauty, and Brawn episode next week.
I'm waiting for the oldies but goodies.
Okay.
Then I'll go back. So yeah, but we do have stars from Survivor, Amazing Race, Big Brother, Chopped Hell's Kitchen, MasterChef, and actually representing 46 different TV shows.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Frank Brady.
Hello, my name is Frank Brady. My wife and I, we just moved here this past December, and I found out that when I got here, you don't get water to raise grass. That's another story. But the real reason I'm here now is I got my first water bill, and my allotment was for 1 unit, which is 748 gallons. I did the calculations for the 240 plants that the builders put out in front of my house. There's not enough allotment of water to take care of that without putting me into the next bracket, which gives me a higher water rate. I need somebody to help me to get to the eastern municipal water department and take that calculations, whatever, I don't know how they got it, but for my lot, the builders put in 240 plants, and with my calculations, it only will support 133 plants if you water them 3 times a day.
Thank you, Mr. Brady. If you would, see Miss Gina Gonzalez back there. She will help you get in contact with our rep, and Mr. August, Mayor Pro Tem August may have some additional information.
Mr. Brady, what's your,
Oh, I'm sorry, my address.
where do you live?
I live in the Audie Murphy area,
Okay.
the Horseshoe. My address is 30283 Changing Wind Lane, Menifee.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
There are no more speakers.
All right, very good for now. On to council member updates and comments. Do we have any updates? Ms. Councilmember Sobek.
I just would like to report to the council and to the staff, our staff in the community, that last Tuesday night, I had the privilege of, along with Gina Gonzalez, our staff, to take 2 Boy Scout troops here at City Hall on a tour. Our upcoming future. We had 12 rambunctious little boys from troops 785 and 585, and Mrs. Gonzalez did a great tour of City Hall, and the children got to see the chamber here. They got to sit in the chairs up here, and they asked some really good questions. Some of their questions had to do with the Holland Bridge overpass and Scott Road, and so they're more parks. They had some good questions that they asked, but our future leaders, I was very impressed that their Scoutmasters were all people who pretty much work in our city. They were school teachers, high school, middle school teachers, and people who volunteer their time. I was very impressed with this group. Also, just real quick, remind the council members that tomorrow I'll be having my first meet and greet. You're all welcome to come over at BJ's Restaurant at 8:30 in the morning for all business owners and in the 3rd District. And then to remind people in the community that we have a CERT training coming up. And if you're not familiar with what CERT is, it's a community emergency response team. It's really important program that people in our city need to participate in case there's a disaster. So it's open. It's open for anyone 18 and older, and it's February 26th and 27th and March 4th and 5th. It's a 20-hour course. I'd encourage you to look into it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Sobek. Who's up next? Mr. Denver.
I just want to, I got the opportunity to do the Student of the Month award this last week, and it was wonderful. Again, some of the best students that you've ever seen. The students there, one of them in particular, started off school really making errors in judgment, and by the time she finished, she's straight A student, and it was just magnificent how good our schools are. I'm listening to the Romoland Elementary School, and back in the day when I taught there, we had music all the time. We did it all, and then as time passed, all that went away, and we just got around to just testing. It's really nice to hear that we're bringing those things back, and the Student of the Month shows how it affects and benefits the kids, so it was really a joy.
Thank you, Mr. Denver. Mr. Leesmeyer?
Not really an update. I just wanted to kind of make a public reminder about the 91 freeway this next weekend being closed from Friday night till Monday morning at 4 a.m. People that might be thinking about getting out of town for the weekend or maybe enjoying some of the weather, going to Disneyland or something like that, gonna have a hard time. So if you're making plans to get out of town, you might want to change them and just stick around, lay low.
Thank you for that reminder. Mayor Pro Tem August.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Get this right. I had the opportunity of attending the Santa Rosa Academy's STEM Expo on February the 11th. STEM standing for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Science. And believe me, it was all there. For those of you not familiar, the Santa Rosa Academy is a K through 12 charter school sponsored by the Menifee Union School District. I toured many of the classes for their demonstrations and so on and so forth. And I believe this is my third tour, and this was by far my most enjoyable experience there. If any of you get the chance next year, please don't pass it up. Aside from the depth of subject, CI classes, and all the various experiments they had that day, they even went to a CSI class and they took my fingerprints and actually got me to sign my name under those, and I'm still not sure how that's going to work out for me, but they're awfully smart kids, so I'm a little bit nervous about that. But aside from all the subjects, I think all of you would really be impressed by the motivation and the enthusiasm and the spirit. It's a real sight to behold, and it really impressed me, and I think you'd all be proud of the students we have at the Santa Rosa Academy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. August. My one report for tonight is, as the division president for the League of Cities for the county, I attended the Desert Hot Springs City Council meeting last night and made a presentation with Aaron Sassy, our Regional Public Affairs Director for the League, and the presentation was to convince them not to leave the League of Cities. And there's 482 cities in the state, and 6 of them don't belong. And Desert Hot Springs unanimously voted 5-0 to stay in the league, so we didn't increase to 7. And that is my report for the last couple weeks. On to approval of the minutes from the meeting of February 3rd, 2016. Are there any modifications to those minutes? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. On to the consent calendar. I'll entertain a motion on the consent calendar. We have a motion from Mayor Pro Tem.
Second.
And a second from Councilmember Leesmeyer. Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Pro Tem August. Councilmember Leesmeyer.
Aye.
Councilmember Sobek.
Aye.
Councilmember Denver. Mayor Mann.
Aye.
That motion passes.
Thank you. On to public hearing items. Agenda item 11.1, freeway agreement with the California Department of Transportation to include the Holland Road overcrossing. Mr. Johnson, staff report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. A very brief report by Jonathan Smith, Public Works Director, City Engineer.
Very brief. Thank you. Mayor and council, today before you is the freeway maintenance agreement amendment. In 2014, the Holland Road overcrossing was just a gleam in Caltrans' eye. So now that they saw the plans and they're ready to approve them, they want to make sure that we want them to take over maintenance of the structure and ask for their permission to install a foundation in the middle of 215. This is the map. Highlighted in yellow is the addition of Holland Road to the facilities that we have that are within the Caltrans right-of-way. And just to refresh everyone's memory, Holland Road is an overcrossing, and it spans 325 feet across 215. And Caltrans, upon the approval of this revision to the maintenance to the agreement, they will be responsible for maintaining the structure and the abutments. The city will be responsible for maintaining the other items. So in 2014, we approved the freeway agreement. As I mentioned, Holland Road was not at the point to add to the map. Today it is, because Caltrans is in the process of approving the plans. So it's staff's recommendation that we approve the resolution to modify the freeway agreement, adding the Holland Road overcrossing. That ends my presentation. I can answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Are there any questions from council? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and open up the public hearing at time 7:39. Madam Clerk, was this properly noticed?
Yes, it was legally noticed.
Have we received any correspondence on this item?
There are no correspondence.
Thank you. Are there any public speakers on this public hearing?
There are no public speakers.
Very well. I'll close the public hearing at time 7:40, and we're inside the rail. This seems to be a pretty straightforward action. Is there any discussion on it? Hearing none,
Motion to approve Resolution 16-497.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call vote, please, on the adoption of the resolution.
Councilmember Leesmeyer.
Aye.
Councilmember Sobek.
Aye.
Councilmember Denver.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem August.
Aye.
Mayor Mann.
Aye.
That motion carries.
Thank you very much, everybody. On to our first discussion item of tonight, 12.1, proposed participation in a public safety joint power authority feasibility study with other contract cities. Mr. Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Before you is a proposed participation in the Public Safety Joint Powers Authority feasibility study with other contract cities of Riverside Sheriff's Department. We asked tonight for approval to participate in the study, to authorize the city manager to enter into participation cost sharing to pay for the study, and to increase an appropriation amount of $25,000 in the general fund. As you know, several months ago, 13 to 14 cities got together to discuss the rising costs of the Sheriff's Department, decided to create an RFP and find out a number of things through a feasibility study. That feasibility study proposes to determine the potential of a new JPA which could form to manage police services consistent with the current level provided by the Riverside County Sheriff's Department. Again, this is not about service. It's not about the phenomenal service that our deputies are providing us now. It's about rising costs that it's taking to pay for those services and to add deputies. Number two is we want to identify the advantages and disadvantages of creating a JPA or a new system. We want to also review a detailed look at the existing police services that are provided and see if those could be catered in a way to cities that could create them differently. In other words, there's kind of a one-size-fits-all right now. And there are some cities that would like more set or more community service officers, and some that want more patrol, but it's kind of set up in the same way. So we want really accounting of what that looks like. We also want to define the services and method of service delivery. We're also asking the JPA to determine if it would have access and use necessary Riverside County Sheriff's and regional law enforcement services. Also, a comprehensive salary and benefit survey is going to be done with potential areas of financial savings. And how it looks now, there were, I believe, 7 responses to the RFP. Most of them were at a level of financial instability. They were very costly, and the experience of the folks who were replying to the RFP were not really in the ballpark of the first 2. So we took 2. We had 7 different cities involved in an interview process in which you'll see the responder that won the RFP is actually in your packet. It's Matrix Consulting Group. And just so you can see the depth and breadth of what they're proposing, if you do have that, I wanted to just highlight a couple things. On page 4, you can see their experience of over 300 different departments at different cities across the nation, actually, in doing this same type of study. And if you looked at page 6, it talks really about the current contract cities. There's 17 cities identified in one reservation through individual contracts. Currently, 7 cities have agreed to go into this JPA and this RFP for payment for services. For this actual feasibility study, with 6 currently out right now, or I should say coming to council for determination by or consideration by council. You can also see the contract costs and the increases from 2007 to 2015 is also on page 6, starting with $111.80 an hour per officer in 2007 to $149.09 now in 2014-15. So the feasibility study is really going to determine 3 things. One, is there a mean mode and operation to form a JPA? 2, we're going to look at the opportunity for the individual cities to form their own police department. And 3, we're going to use all that information, if there's no political will on the first 2, to come back together and to hopefully renegotiate or negotiate a better or more feasible contract rate for the cities that are involved. We are, now that we have a cost to the proposal, we are asking back out to other cities that were not going to participate, and there are several that are contemplating. How it's going to work going forward is the city of San Jacinto is going to actually contract for the services for Matrix, and the remaining cities are going to, per the discussion tonight and the recommendation tonight, form an MOU to pay for those services, and we're asking that amount not to exceed $25,000. And that concludes my report. Other than these two facts, which are phenomenal, in the RFP response, there's a lot of work that Matrix did already to show what their capabilities were for performing the study. And on page 8, you'll see that the city of Menifee has the third lowest violent crimes per 1,000 of the cities that are on this list, and there are more than 10, and the third lowest property crimes per 1,000 in population. So we sit very well right now. It is to the good work of the Riverside County Sheriff's Department. Again, this is not at all about the service level being provided to us. It is about the cost.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Councilmember Leesmeyer.
If we go with this RFP, to go with this study, does this obligate us to go forward in the JPA? Otherwise, in other words, can we just take this information and run and then let the other cities do what they want to do?
Yes, it's completely set. It's very unique what we've attempted to do, because not only are we coming together as an opportunity for a JPA, but we're also coming together as individuals that are going to look at, and the JPA, the RFP, and the respondent to the RFP matrix is going to look at our cities individually, our individual contracts, and then they're going to make assumptions about whether we can, A, all form a collective JPA, or B, individual cities forming their individual police departments. So no, we're under no obligation to enter into a JPA. We'll get the information back from the study, we'll share it with council, and we'll go from there.
So you said there were 7 cities on board for now.
Correct.
And 6 are going, still, city managers are presenting to 6
Correct.
other councils to.
We have Coachella, Harupa Valley, Elsinore, Moreno Valley, San Jacinto, and Temecula currently with us considering tonight. Those that are still considering Indian Wells, La Quinta, Norco, Palm Desert, Paris, and Wildemar.
Okay. So it's conceivable that if those 6 decide that they don't want to do anything, our costs will go up exponentially.
Well, if we are the seventh, and we're not going to exceed 25,000, that's $245,000, and the contract amount was under 200, so we're okay.
Great.
Any other questions? Is there a motion on the city manager's recommendations tonight?
Yeah, I'd motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please, let's do a roll call on this, please.
Councilmember Sobek?
Aye.
Councilmember Denver?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem August?
Aye.
Councilmember Leesmeyer?
Aye.
Mayor Mann?
Aye.
That motion passes unanimously.
Great work, great. A lot of effort has gone into this by the Public Safety Committee and our staff to get us to this point. And I hope that the other cities join to at least participate in the feasibility study so that they know what they don't currently know. And then armed with that information, with the county's public safety study, we can merge the data and really have the right information for us to make a decision for us as a city.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it.
To your point, I mean, it's, people need to open their eyes and go check the numbers. You know,
They're astonishing.
what good is the council doing if they're not even willing to participate in this part of the study, just to check the numbers and try?
I agree. I agree. All right. On to agenda item 12.2, consideration of the Distinguished Citizens Award Program. And this was a layover from the last meeting, and I want to compliment Councilmember Sobek for graciously laying that over so that Councilmember Denver could participate in it. And with that being said, you have the floor on your agenda item.
Thank you, Mayor Mann. If the council members might remember when in December, I wanted to have this put on the agenda to talk about and have a discussion on the City of Menifee having a Distinguished Citizen Award. And as I have served for just a short couple months already as a council member and attending events and participating in many activities that we have throughout the city, I have just seen wonderful people out there doing good in our city. And I'm looking at this, instead of looking at it like, what do we want to do? I'm looking at what do we want to accomplish. We're a good city. We're growing. We're percolating. And I believe that doing good things will enhance others to do good things. So what we have in our packet is just a suggestion. But to have a discussion on truly a Distinguished Citizen Award program, I've done a little research, and I have learned that communities that are more engaged, there's less crime. Something we just talked about. That it creates a culture of selflessness. That when you see people doing good, others want to do good. It improves the quality of life. That it helps us be better neighbors, helps us be more responsible neighbors when we see others doing good. So as city leaders, I feel like this would be a good place to be able to recognize others in our city for doing good. And so I just would like to be able to honor people for doing good, say thank you, because a little thank you goes a long way.
Thank you. Comments?
I do.
Mr. August?
Well, first of all, I want to say I support everything that you believe in as far as the community goes. The last time I talked to you, you kind of had a plan in mind. Have you kind of pulled that, and would you like some suggestions from the council, or do you want to introduce something?
What was suggested in our packet was only a suggestion.
Yeah.
That was just a place to start.
Okay.
I wanted to, Mayor Mann suggests that when I brought this up, that we bring it back as a discussion item. And he said if I was going to do it in my district, District 3, that maybe all of us should take a look at it. So
Okay.
what we have in the packet is only a suggestion.
It's a suggestion. That would be the one per month, each councilman, 3 months? That generally speaking. Okay.
That was only a suggestion.
All right.
That was just a place to start.
Okay, now can I have read that, and I understand it, you and I have talked about it, and I want to give you my opinions. And then, but what I want to emphasize right here is I want you to get something done on this. You know, you need to get something done, and I totally support what you're doing. I just have some different feelings about it, and if you could, maybe we could bring it back for a discussion if we don't make a decision tonight, and we could massage this and work this, because I do believe we need some work in this area. But I'll go ahead and give you my comments, and I need you to think about them. You can, of course, come back to me or any of the comments.
And
Okay.
this is totally
All right.
open for discussion.
Go ahead and read them. So, I've already said that I totally understand the meaning behind your intent, and no one, and I'll tell everybody in the audience, exemplifies more than you, Lisa Sobek, the spirit of the community service, where you many times have been recognized and honored yourself for distinguished achievement as a volunteer. And let me tell you, you know how many occasions you've been an inspiration to me. And because you promised this in your district in an election that you won overwhelmingly, I do believe it's deserving of our time, and I hope we can accomplish something in this area. The Distinguished Citizen Award that you've described in the packet that you're asking for a discussion on tonight would be, in my opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong, a council-required once-a-month event, in my opinion. In my opinion, it might dilute, I feel, the true spirit of recognizing real and deserved achievement. In other words, it could lead to a last-minute manufactured achievement. Oh, I got to get my selected individual out tonight. So I am concerned about that. I, in my 3 years on the city council, as you know, have recognized several people in my term with certificates of appreciation at council meetings and within the various districts. I think I just did one 2 weeks ago for the late Beverly Humble. It wasn't because I was required to, but because I chose to. Any council member is free to do the same, and I would strongly encourage every council member to do this whenever and wherever deserved, because service to the community needs to be recognized. But, and this is the only one of the places we might disagree, but in my opinion, there's no set number or no set time for it, but more when the special occasion occurs. And it may happen more than a month. It may happen 3 times in 1 month. So I believe, this is what I believe, and if we're going to get anywhere in this, the council can consider this as a motion. Just consider it, not tonight, maybe in the future, and we can always work this one as well. So I believe that the mayor or any council member representing their district should be able to, without objection or rejection from any other council person, and with prior arrangements, coordination, and timing through the city staff, work it out with the agenda for timing and everything like that, be able to request and submit a certificate of citation for special achievement for any individual or group within their district, and be presented before the council or within the district, whatever location promises the greater benefit to the achiever. Should a councilman from one district want to recognize an achieving resident from another district, it should be permitted, of course, but only with a courtesy extended to the representing council member for that district. I do not believe any effort of this nature should be required, but highly encouraged, yes. My last point is, should the city council decide to be an annual participant in County Supervisor Marion Ashley's annual Volunteer Appreciation Award, I would recommend delegating that task to the Menifee Citizens Advisory Committee to establish a process and accept the nomination and applications for that nomination. And that would be near years in, and after careful deliberation in choosing a nominacy submitted to the council for approval. Now, that doesn't mean that the advisory committee, they should take the nominee, and it should be influenced by any special recognition and achievement by the council member during the year. So I want to just put that against what you were reckoning, and hopefully if the council is listening, wants to engage in this, we can maybe come to something, maybe not tonight, but maybe in the future. So those are the end of my remarks, and if you have any comments, I'd sure like to hear from you.
No, I appreciate those comments, and like the staff report was only a suggestion as a place to start. I don't think it should be mandated at all either. I think that I think it would be nice to have a Distinguished Citizen Award. We may not have one every month. We may, like you said, have a couple. A couple of us may want to do one in 1 month. But we might be able to form even an ad hoc committee of 2 of us, where maybe if there are more than 1 submissions in a month, we look at the one special one for that month. I just believe that this would be, we hear so much negative, that it would be a positive. I want it to be something positive that we're doing as a city to move Menifee forward.
I would like to hear from the mayor and the other council members, because actually we really don't have a policy on this, and if perhaps we could come up with a policy about how we do. I know some things have gone on to through the staff. People have asked for a request from the staff to prepare a certificate or an award for someone, and it was turned down on a couple of occasions. And I want to know, Mr. Mayor, if you'd be willing to engage in maybe establishing a policy for something like this?
Yeah, I would. I think we need to shore it up, because we've been operating, and I don't have the decorum policy in front of me, but proclamations always go on the agenda. And they have to be concurred to by at least, another member of the requesting council member, and then it comes and goes on the consent calendar. But the certificate of appreciations that we've done routinely throughout the city on a number of things, I think that's the prerogative of the council member. I really do. You know your community, you know your areas. I just don't, in that regard, I don't think we need more of a formalized process than that. I like your idea to a point of the MCAC if we decide to do a Distinguished Citizen Award, to give it to them. I don't want to, you know, I have some other comments that I want to make, but I'd like to hear from the others as well. But speaking to the issue of formalizing, having a policy, I think we should codify it in our decorum policy. Mr. Leesmeyer?
I think it's a great idea. You know, I did talk with Councilmember Sobek about it, and you know, I think recognizing people that are making efforts above and beyond helps foster other people to come up and want to do that. I mean, it's kind of like Student of the Month. You know, yes, we glorify them at Denny's for breakfast, and they get their awards and all that stuff. But other kids see that, and it's inspiring to them. You know, maybe I want to try a little bit harder. And we really do have a lot of people that do things for our community, but we need more. And you know, I like where the spirit is. It's bringing the community together. However, I know our staff resources are incredibly limited. So I do like the idea of an ad hoc committee where the council member or two take it on the challenge themselves and deal with it solely on their own. If there is a, you know, if that makes any sense. I do have a little bit of fear about, you know, the political side of it. You know, if we do make it a District 3, District 4, you know, as it's explained here in the staff report, it might give the perception that the council's endorsing somebody. You know, I would hate to see this spun the wrong way. I'm not saying that anybody would do this, but spin it the wrong way and say, well, you know, I'm running for council, and I got this award from the city council, so the city council likes me, and I'm going to use this as a stepping stone. That's really not the intent of this, and I would hate to see that happen. But on the face of this, you know, I like it. I think it's a great idea. I like where you're going, Councilmember August. We do these things all the time, you know. And it makes it difficult when we try to put deadlines on things, and it's a mandated type thing. So, curious, John, what do you have to say?
Mr. Denver?
I think this also is a great idea. I think that the concept of rewarding people in the community for what they do, although it is being done now, and it's done by a whole bunch of different groups, I think it should be done by us. I also am a little bit afraid of the politics of it. Rather than what you were saying, I'm sort of worried about that if you give so many awards to people who were on your campaign, people will, you know how they could take it. And I don't know whether I want to go through all that. The other thought is that there's a cost to it. The way that I understood it from the paperwork that was done is that maybe, conceivably, the staff would be coming up with the person. I mean, they'd be putting it together. There'd be staff time. What my hope is that we would now direct staff to take all these ideas that we've just spoken, and that they would come up with costs, because I really would like this not to have costs of the city, and think about the politics of it. Maybe check with other cities, see what they do, what they don't do. Maybe we should be, if you guys listen to what you all said, there's so many pieces to it, and some of them don't go together, and some of them do beautifully, and come up with some choices for us. And then when they're done, when they've done their work, come back to us and we'll talk about it again. I do think we ought to talk about it again at some time in the future after staff has put together some thoughts on this.
One more,
Mr. August, go ahead.
I agree with Mr. Denver on this, and I want to thank Mr. Leesmeyer. Now, I'll just give you a couple of experiences I've had just recently with one over in Sun City. We had an event coming up. I didn't check with anyone else. I asked the city manager, and then he said, Greg, that sounds fine. And it was a sympathy type thing for an individual. So I collected some information on the biography, and I turned it in to the city clerk. Now, you said that we should do this on our own, but let me tell you, if I put something out, I always want to make sure it goes through the city clerk because it's going to be represented from the city.
Absolutely.
And she nailed it in a heartbeat for me.
But you did the due diligence. And
I
that's what
I
I'm
absolutely
looking for.
did the home, and that's what I did with all of our citations for Ed Husted and, Elizabeth Martine. We give the information together and do whatever they want, but when it comes down to putting on a city tablet, I would want to make sure that the city approves it. That would be my only comment on that.
And I think that we've all, council members past and present, have done that really in a good way. We haven't overstepped. We've always extended courtesy to one another to afford recognition to people. And I think recognition in the community is also important. I just don't know if we need to formalize it in a Distinguished Citizen Award type thing. And the reason why I share that is because, we have a proclamation process. We already have certificates of appreciation. Speaking to the other organizations in the community that already do it, the Chamber of Commerce, the Rotary Club, the school districts, Supervisor Ashley is doing his first annual. It's the first, and Assemblymember Melendez and Senator Morrell, they do Distinguished Women, Distinguished Men of the Year. They do Veterans Programs of the Year. The Boys and Girls Club has recognition. The Arts Council has recognition. There are other nonprofits that we don't even probably know about that give recognition. There's also churches that give recognition. And I am just of the opinion that beyond what we already do, I don't think it should be the municipal body's position to formalize such a process, because I think if for all the good that it could do, I think it has a dangerous effect down the road if somebody abuses it. So I'm amenable to having staff do a little bit more research, maybe formalize, as you suggested, Mr. August, the decorum policy on proclamations and certificate of appreciation. But as of this evening, I am not in favor of formalizing a Distinguished Citizen Award program at this juncture without additional information.
Okay, a couple of points. That would be helpful for me to know what the process is and what the difference is between a proclamation or certificate of appreciation or it would be helpful for us to understand. I don't know the difference between a proclamation and maybe we can find that out. Also, I don't think the council's made any decision on this, but should we become part of the annual Volunteer Appreciation Award event, then I guess you might change your mind on whether or not we want to have a distinguished citizen or something like that. I would guess.
Yeah, let's say, to that point, I appreciate you reminded me of that, because I've been very upfront with Supervisor Ashley and his staff and Commissioner Rosen and Ms. Sanchez, who are honchoing this program for him in the entire 5th District. And they have asked us, the City Council, to nominate somebody for this. And I've pushed back and I said, I don't believe that that's the City Council's role. If the supervisor wants to recognize a distinguished citizen, then your staff should reach out and pick the distinguished citizen, not us. And so in that regard, I would not be in favor of our MCAC getting together to make a recommendation to another elected official or a body. If we are going to have the MCAC do anything, then I think it would be for us.
Right, agreed.
Ms. Sobek.
I'm aware that the City of Marietta and the City of Temecula have done a Woman of the Year and Men of the Year, a Man of the Year. And when I heard of that, that's why I thought a distinguished citizen, it's not labeling anyone specific. It could be for a group, it could be for a business, it could be for a school group, it could be for an individual. You mentioned in your remarks that other political leaders are doing the same thing. I believe the reason why they're doing it is they see it's a good thing to do, and as leaders of the community, I think it would be a good thing for us to do. I would like to, I don't want to make it difficult. I just would like to be able to honor people and say thank you. And if you feel you would like staff to do a little bit more, I hate to give them that work to do. I've done a little bit of the work myself, looking to see what other cities have done. If you want to have more discussion, I'm okay with that. I appreciate those council members who think this is a good idea. It could only do good for our city. Why not just do good things and recognize those for doing good? So I'd say thank you.
Can I make one more comment, Mr. Mayor, and make it real quick? I understand where Ms. Sobek's coming from on this. Now, would it be possible, I guess it would be, I guess a council person can do whatever they want in their district, but if I wanted to, from District 1, say, you know, I want to pick a Citizen of the Year in District 1, not that I would, but if Lisa Sobek did that in her district, I'm sure, I don't see any problem with her bringing that person to the city council and having us honor her Distinguished Citizen of the Year if she chose to do that. What are your feelings on that, or for the rest of the council as well?
I wouldn't have a major objection to that as long as it's a proclamation type thing,
Okay.
as opposed to a certificate, because as I mentioned before, we give out certificates of appreciation for many things. I'll recall one story. Menifee School District had an employee who did a life-saving event on a student, and we found out about it the day after it happened, and then the next day there was a board meeting. And so I asked the then city clerk, Bennett, if we could do a certificate of appreciation. I would go and do pull a public comment card, and just, you know, on behalf of the city, we recognize you for saving this young boy's life. Thank you very much for, you know, those types of things. I don't think it really needs to be more formalized than that, is I guess what I'm saying, other than if the council wanted to go down that road, I think it should be done via the proclamation process. And I think we would need to update the decorum policy to, as you suggested, to allow for that, or to, you know, put the process in place.
So we'll just bring it back?
If there's a motion to bring it back, if there's a motion to direct staff in this way.
Let me say one thing. There's three things been mentioned. Citizen of the Year was at one time, Citizen of the Month, certificates, and a third one, proclamations. I need to have that all clarified in my mind. You guys have got me going a little bit on that. So I think we need enough before I want to make a motion. I want somebody to come up with a plan here and explain what of those three things goes in or does not go into the beginning of the meeting and all the rest of it.
Mr. Johnson, have you heard enough? I think I've heard enough that we have at least a desire to have more information from staff. Do you need any more direction from us other than a consensus on this?
No, I do not. We've been listening very intently, and there's a number of years here, so I think we'll get the gist of the consensus if there is one.
Mr. Mayor, do we all agree that it should not be compulsory but should be voluntary?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Mhm.
And I have one request associated with when the timing that you bring this back. Please prioritize it in the right place with all the other things that we have going on.
Sure.
And so staff, bring it back when you feel that you're ready to bring it back, unless the council wants to set a date.
One of my meetings.
It should come
One of
back.
your meetings, okay, when I'm out of town?
It should come,
15 minutes, one of those
would
15 minutes.
would in
you
2
have, so-
weeks be good to come back, or do you need more time? And we've had a
I'm
lot-
I'm not in favor of giving staff only 2 weeks, I'm sorry.
I think, Ms. Sobek, that your argument was probably the best answer to that. Let's not give staff too much to do, or let's give them something to do when they have time to do it, and in amongst the things they have time to do, and as soon as it's practical, bring it back to us.
But perhaps no later than, this is February, March, April. No, consistent with what you have to do, let's make it no later than May 31st. Set a 90-day time stamp on it. Is that, would that be acceptable, Councilmember Sobek?
No, I believe, I'd like to hear from staff how much time they think. I'd like to hear their recommendation on that.
Do you have a well, what's your pleasure, council? Do you want to give them a window so that staff can bring it back at their leisure?
I'm not quite sure what to do.
All right, Mr. Johnson, do you have a guidance on this for us? Don't put yourself in the middle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I think within the next 60 days, we could bring something back.
All right. I'd rather give you 90, but I'll accept 60.
Thank you.
All right. I think we talked that one through for now. On to city attorney reports.
No reports this evening, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson, city manager report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. No other items.
All right. Future agenda requests from council members? Mr. Denver.
I want to compliment Ms. Sobek for her bringing up this subject. So seldom, I can't think of another time when we all got to sit down and talk about something without so much the stupid buttons and all the rest of it, and actually hear our own points of view and talk. So if you can, these are good ideas to bring up.
Thank you.
And I appreciate that discussion too, because Mr. Denver has long lamented the fact that we don't talk these things through enough. And so it was a good example for us to do those things. Are there any future agenda requests from now? Hearing none, then we are going to adjourn this evening we're going to adjourn the meeting tonight in honor of U.S. Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia and his decades-long service on the Supreme Court bench. We are adjourned.